I want to start this video by saying what you're about to watch is but one external possibility of the coronavirus. All of my research, analysis, and theory has been piling up, and I want to present to you the data I have observed in chronological order from when I first became aware of the information. This should allow you to view COVID's perspective from my reality. I've been amazed at what has happened to/within our financial system since the first announcement of COVID-19. From seeing bond yields, stocks, and crypto plummet to such extremes, and even oil, as for the first time in history, actually trade negative, completely changed my perspective as to what a financial system is/could be. My brain immediately began to connect things that once had never been considered, and to this day still blow my mind. It all started before the world even knew COVID was a problem. I was working my old job and acutely had taken notice that the market had continually been falling for the past week or so. Shortly thereafter, my coworker Wale had mentioned to me that a virus was spreading in China and that his father in Jamaica, one of the port authorities, had closed the ports down to keep the virus from spreading. This immediately gave us the idea to short oil and other banks exposed to global equities, and thus yielded some incredible returns as we had actually predicted something before it occurred based off of knowledge we knew in the real world. As the market continued its collapse, we knew something big was about to hit the world, but little did we know it would be the exact same virus he mentioned earlier from China. We kept about our normal business hours, but it felt as if we were operating in a different reality as nobody around us was aware of what was going to happen. Just simply from watching the market, we knew the world was going to be shaken to such an extent that nobody was going to have time to react to it. And sure enough, society was immediately smacked with lockdowns and a halted economy, destroying the financial system society once knew. At first, I didn't consider this much, as to when you're making money, you don't think of the repercussions of what you're doing, but out of nowhere, I just had this thought. What if there exists so much money that it essentially becomes worthless? Because clearly, if it was this easy for me to make money, then there were certainly others that were doing the exact same thing. Much less if the economy actually collapsed to the extent I saw coming, then all the money in the world wouldn't matter because nothing would be open to where you could spend that money. It was at this point in time I began questioning a different reality. When our stock market hit a bottom, I knew our Federal Reserve had to have done something, as nobody in their right mind could have been bullish or would have been bullish on anything at this point in time. I began searching for answers, and the first place I noticed something strange to the extent of indicating growth for what could be a potential future was crypto. This is when I really began to analyze and understand crypto to the extent of understanding it in my own words. I figured at first it was because money just wasn't safe anywhere. The dollar was declining, stocks were plummeting, bond yields were collapsing. My first guess was that people were just throwing money into this thing to save digitally what they could in hopes for the best. But then I actually began to do some research from the physical economy's perspective of what crypto could be indicating. In May, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that they were printing money digitally, and with cryptocurrencies being the only other form of digital currency I knew to be in existence at that time, I began to further expand upon what that could mean for the crypto economy as well as our physical economy, as there wasn't much of a way out of this crisis from the current perspective I saw within our old financial system. His single sentence statement of printing money digitally expanded my theory into everything you see on this channel today, because I knew if our Federal Reserve was now minting an entirely new form of currency, that meant we were entering a vast future that nobody was prepared for. As time progressed and upon further research, I found this. Fed Governor Brenner came out nearly 3 months later in August and said the Fed was experimenting with a digital dollar. This immediately began firing off an infinite amount of possibilities within my brain as to what COVID actually was. Now, I have no doubt there was something physically impacting our economy, but from my own personal perspective, I was solely focused on understanding what COVID was and how it would forever change society's perspective of what they knew a financial system to be. It was at this point I had to slow down and collect my thoughts from an analytical and perceivable point of view, because if I had to explain anything to anyone, it would have to be in such a way that they could understand it in their own terms. Luckily, my father was willing to understand and listen to my theories as they had slowly begun indicating things from his point of view. Like when I told him to buy Ethereum at $136. As I researched more into why our government was even considering this, I found out that China was also testing their version of a digital yuan in a smaller portion of their economy to see if it had any potential viability. However, China started this program in January of 2020, the same year COVID would rampage through our economy. Staying on the focal point of our Fed and COVID, I began to question if our government was using COVID as a way to test a digital dollar within their own economy. Texas and Florida were the only states to reopen a portion of their economy despite how vast the spread of COVID appeared. This was very peculiar, but if America wanted to test their digital dollar, then locking down every other state and leaving two open with limited operations would allow for an observable, trackable outcome. This is why I believe our digital dollar will be nothing more than an expansion of credit. As our economy was still in the wake of a national coin shortage, everything around me appeared normal, at least in Florida, but I could feel there wasn't a flow of cash within the physical economy around me. And even to this day, it's so strange to try to pay for something with cash, as most vendors don't accept it as legal tender anymore. It's as if reality was shifted in such a way that only from my own perspective could somebody else understand what was going on within the world around them. It's why I began this YouTube endeavor to document this drastic change in economy around me, because I knew if I was sensing this and I could feel this happening to me in real time, then surely there were others that felt something very similar, or there will be others that are going to experience something similar. All the while this was going on, I was watching our stock market and cryptocurrencies rise at an extreme rate. It was so puzzling to me because had COVID not occurred, then I essentially never would have been able to notice anything like this. And it's why I say, and have said since the beginning, that it was God who told me to take notice of the falling stock market and everything going on around me, because it was like I was slapped with knowing that this was going to drastically change not only my future, but the entire world's. It's like I knew COVID would be this drastic turning point in my life, and so I just had to act. And the only thing I could think to even do throughout this entire point was just document it. I started documenting it on my phone via screenshots, via screen recordings, and now I've updated it to uploading stuff on YouTube. COVID has impacted everyone in some way, shape, or form, and this is just a documentation of how I began theorizing a quantum financial system. Because as I said earlier, if I knew everything to have seamlessly changed overnight, just like our elections seem to have randomly flipped overnight, then I knew others would or have experienced the same thing. Some people never realize a change this drastic because they either don't care to or don't care to ask what is going on. Today, China is expanding their use of the digital yuan, and I don't doubt the US will begin expansion of theirs too. China's digital dollar poses a massive threat to the United States, as we are the world's reserve currency, and should that power be stripped from us, then maybe that was what our stock market was reacting to in conjunction with COVID. It's possibly why our Federal Reserve has been studying crypto so closely and potentially answers the question of crypto's enormous price increase. With that, I predict a rapid deployment of COVID vaccines and thus a drastic positive change in our stock market and physical economy. However, only time can tell, but I hope Life with Kyle and my perspective on COVID has made you question what is actually going on, and maybe even given you some insight, or perhaps the answer society was looking for. Thank you for watching this episode, and until next time, remember, vieres in numeros, strength in numbers.